At this time, I'll call on Commissioner Johnson, if you would, have our prayer and pledge your allegiance to the flag of our great nation.
Heavenly Father, I come to you today to ask for guidance, to make the right decisions for our county, to lead it in the best direction possible. Lord, I ask you that you be with our law enforcement, EMS personnel, and our employees of Greene County, and to the citizens of Greene County. Lord, I ask you that you be with our country and our military during these hard times. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Fellow Commissioners, you have in your packets the proposed agenda for today's meeting. Is there a need for any changes to the proposed agenda?
Hearing no changes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There are none. Those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. You also have in the consent agenda those items. Is there a need for any change to the consent agenda?
Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda for today's meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Do you have anyone for public comments?
I didn't pick it up, but I don't see anyone but staff and speakers.
I do have a comment to make.
Yes, sir.
Our screens are all black. Is it supposed to be?
Let me take a look.
I don't care, but I mean, they're black.
They're on there.
They just,
Supersonic.
the message just kicked off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Having no public comments, our first presenter, Mr. Bobby Taylor.
Thank y'all for having me today on such short notice. When I spoke to Kyle on Thursday, I think it was, he jumped right on and put us on the agenda. I appreciate that. I'm here today as the chairman of the ABC Commission and speaking on behalf of the ABC Board to update you, the county commissioners, on our progress that we've made on the new ABC store, as well as to discuss the allocated funds that we have had set aside for the ABC Commission for the past couple of years. It was about 5 or 6 years ago when we started this new store conversation, and we came to the board at that time to tell of our ideas and request that funds to be held and reserved for a future new store if we ever put it together. Finally, we have reached that day, and it's time to make our new store a reality. Together with you, the commissioners, we're building our new store hopefully very, very soon. In this process, we will be closing the other 2 stores. State ABC Commission states that you cannot own property, ABC Commission cannot own property unless you have it for ABC reasons. So we can't rent those stores or anything, so we will be selling those buildings when this comes to fruition. With the new larger store, we'll have more access to carry more product than we do now, because our showroom, our retail sales floor, will be 2.5 times larger than the one on 2nd Street down the street here. We'll have access to product that we can't get now, or can't get because we don't have anywhere to showcase it. A lot of stores that are ABC stores now have like sections for North Carolina product only. We have maybe 1 shelf of North Carolina product. Hopefully we'll have 12, 15 feet of North Carolina product when this comes together. When we started the process with the state, we had to prepare a budget showing showing how we were going to pay for the store, showing plans. The handout that I gave you all, the very, very back picture shows the actual picture that was presented to the State ABC Commission, because we had to show how the store was going to settle the property. We had, like I said, we had to show the budget. We had to show a floor plan. We had to show everything. The first 3 pages I think that you have, I think the first one shows the exterior elevations of the store. You notice it might not match the artist rendition on the back page, because that was just more of a presentation to get the state started, if you will. This is the actual what you see on your front page will be maybe not the same color scheme. This one's a little bit shorter, fatter version. Ours will be more like a rectangle version built like this, based on the location where you see on your handout. To this point today, all land has been purchased. Everything has been paid for. I believe in paying as you go. So we've done our due diligence. We've paid all the closing costs on land. We've paid all the engineering fees. We've done everything up to this point. So we're here today and would love to answer any questions that you may have about what we're doing and how we're proceeding, or what we have done, and also seeing if we can get the $250,000 worth of funds that we have through the ABC Commission that y'all have held for us for the past couple of years, well, 5 or 6 years. I think I did the math on it before I came in. We've actually past 4 years average has been right around mid-40s that the county has made. Going forward with a bigger store, bigger sales, that number should only increase, and those funds, as you commissioners know, are y'all's funds to do as you please once we pay all our bills. So hopefully that number could get bigger going forward once this is finished. Any questions? Other thing, this should be about $1 million project. The new store. It's about 6,000 square feet, 5,980, I believe. 3,000 square foot of storage in the warehouse storage, 2,400 sales floor, and about 600, 800 of office meeting area. We'll have our own meeting room built into this same building, which we do not have one now. When we have our ABC board meetings, we set in a little 8x8 general manager's office with 3 or 4 chairs. It's worked, but we will have a little miniature conference room in this new building. I think that's on the. I forgot I have a floor plan on page 2 that I gave you.
How many parking areas will you have? That's been a problem with one in.
The parking there meets the requirements of the planning board for that, but I think, Mr. Jones, I think it's right at 2022.
Okay.
But the way the site plan is designed, it can share parking as well.
Yeah.
With the grocery store.
Right.
Howard, you have a back total of what we owed in?
According to last year's audited financials, what did we have? 200.
254,
And they received
582 or something like that.
and they received a June 30th, 2023 edition that he's quoting that's just not part of our financial statements or approved financial statements yet, and those should be out probably in the next month. But
I got our number from
Jay
Mr. Parrish that does our auditing and everything. I requested that last week before I made a meeting. I wanted to get a close number.
You already got it bidded out?
The site plan was just approved last Monday at Town Planning Board, and the Bartlett Engineering out of Wilson will send it out to 7 builders. One being a Greene County, one will be a Greene County bidder. I think that's the only one that they sent Greene County wise. I mean, they're welcome to go out to anybody, but that's the only one that he suggested. Bartlett Engineering has built. They're the same engineering firm that did the new Family Dollar Tree, and then once I met with them and talked with them, they have done 13 or 14 ABC stores as well, as far as building and helping put them together, if you will.
This will be very close to the one like they got in Farmville, except it's gonna be more rectangle than,
It's gonna be bigger than square footage than the one in Farmville by about 1,200 square foot, if I'm not mistaken. I hadn't been in that one.
that's another store.
This
right
one
by.
will, the picture that I showed you is the actual one they built on Wayne Memorial Drive behind the, is that the Walmart neighborhood store right there on Tommy Road?
Yeah, yeah.
You know where I'm talking about? And that's a little bit shorter. That ours will be, like I said, it'll be built more like this rather than a square. The main entrance will kind of face west, which will be facing Goldsboro. If you see that on the artist rendition, the artist rendition is basically exactly like it's going to be built. It's just not the exact facade and exterior.
You really answered my first question when I saw these documentation, when it didn't match, and then you said this was just a conceptual sort of thing for the state commission, the process. That was the first question I had. And then you made a comment about it being $1 million building, and you're going to be getting about $250 plus whatever from the county that you've already put into the plan of payment. So you're going to be financing the rest of it going into the future, and the proceeds will go towards paying it off in the future. Is that right?
We will sell the 2 buildings.
Yeah.
We got those appraised. Probably put those up for sale at the appraised value. We thought that was the fairest thing to do as a board.
Right.
We'll put that money into the loan process,
Into
if you
the
will.
kitty, yeah.
And hopefully it won't have to, with you all's blessings and funds and what we get out of those 2 buildings, we should be very close to 50%.
Cool.
We also have a strong savings account, checking account that we've kept safe and kept up to date, so to say, in the past 5 or 6 years.
Right. Cool.
So we don't really see any issues of not making this work. With two stores right now, you have 2 internets, you have 2 order bills, you have 2 light bills, et cetera, and they're both older buildings, as y'all know. So hopefully newer buildings will be lesser utilities. They're more efficient. Obviously, only 1 internet bill now instead of 2. I'm giving you some minor expenses, but
Right.
But the way we did our budget, we really feel like the expenses will be less, not counting the mortgage payment,
Gotcha.
the day-to-day expenses, if you will, operating expenses. And it will be a store that's right now we're looking at a 9 to 9 type store, open hours. That is state mandated. You can't open before 9. You can't open after 9 p.m. So we'll probably utilize the 12-hour window there to have a full-scale store.
Availability, yeah. Sounds good.
Right now we open at 10 down here and close at 7, I believe, and then we open one out on the bypass at 1:30 and close at 9. So I feel like it's a lot safer area than the one out on 13 as well. Yes, sir, Mr. Shaver, I'm sorry.
If you get started on time, what do you think this will probably be in operation?
Well, I think we've gone through the hard part. getting it approved, getting everything done. We started on the engineering plans, I think, in April, and here it is November. We just have got its site plan approved. He told me it would probably take 2-3 weeks to get all the bids back in once they were sent out, which hopefully they were sent out Friday. And as y'all know, with the way everything's built now, once it's approved, it's bam. It should be built in less than 60 days probably. We were hoping for a first week of January opening, but realistically, I think you're probably looking at first week of March now, since we've had to go through everything we've gone through. I mean,
You all said, Mr. Chairman, I move to release the ABC funds held in reserve to provide funding for the ABC Commission.
Have a motion, have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Looking forward to having all y'all at the ribbon cut.
Planning your vision.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Chairman, we're having some technical difficulty. If you want the technology, you can get a 5-minute recess. If you don't, proceed. Your call.
We'll give you a 5-minute recess time. All the screens have just gone out with no signal.
Keep rolling.
Now they're back. The second presenter, Mr. Collins.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's very good to be with you. My name is Eric Collins, Director of Government Affairs for Charter Communications, locally known as Spectrum. Spectrum is a brand of Charter Communications, so with that brand is where we get our video, high-speed data, digital phone, and mobile services as well. So I wanted, because we are new to Greene County, we have not, let's see, one more, there we go. Since we're new to Greene County, I just wanted to give you an overview of us as a company itself. So as a company, we operate in 41 different states across the United States. We have 32 million customer relationships with over 100,000 employees. We were one of the very first companies back pre-pandemic that went to the $20 per hour starting wages. We did that based on the fact that that was the right thing to do at the time pre-pandemic. And for a company our size, our CEO, of course, knew it would be beneficial, especially for employees with the economy growing like it was and where the economy was. 50% of our employee base is persons of color. We've invested over $40 billion in infrastructure and technology just alone as a company, as far as our part, and not that we receive from grants or RDOF. We have over 800,000 miles of network infrastructure. Now, that 800,000 miles, those numbers were numbers of earlier this year. Because we're operating in 41 states, we actually hired our in-house contractors to do installation based on the fact that we're building so much rural broadband. And when I say rural broadband, one of the things that the company really looked at was the Charter Communications. We operate in a lot of large cities, small towns across the United States, but we really wanted to be a leading provider for rural broadband. For those areas that we thought pre-pandemic that broadband would never come. And that was one of the reasons that we bid in the FCC RDOF round. We wanted to be in those rural communities and be first to the market and to ensure, because what the pandemic showed for us is that when kids were out of school, it just showed us more the need for access to broadband. So therefore, we wanted to be a leader in that. We applied for the RDOF awards that were going out, and it was a reverse bid, which is a little bit different. Maybe not so when you're dealing with the federal government itself. So in essence, the way the RDOF award worked is that bidding providers bidded on census blocks, and the lowest bidder won the award. Excuse me, the highest bidder won the award. So those companies who were willing to invest more money into the marketplace to get broadband deployed won the award. So with that being said, on a national level, we'll move to a state level. And I think I can just read from here. I can look at it from here. So just in North Carolina, the impact we have in North Carolina, we have 2.8 million customers that we actually have. We have over 11,805 employees. We've invested $1 billion just in our capital investment alone here. A lot of that has to do with some of the RDOF as well as great grant awards. And of course, we know we have coming the CAB grant awards, and then of the federal money that's coming from BEAD. So when Greene County, we know that received 2 awards from 2 other providers who provide rural broadband service from the Great Grant Award. And so we have CAB coming along. So that I think the entire purpose of between RDOF and the state awards and the BEAD funds, CAB, and GREAT is to get universal services into as many counties as we have. So with that, we talked about a little bit about trying to get to all the rural areas that we could across the counties in North Carolina. And the one thing that we have been focusing on in our existing footprint, even in those footprints that we're going to, is the adoption. What we're finding out is that as much as we want people to have access to broadband, we call it access to broadband, the adoption part is challenging, to say the least. Because there are a lot of families determining whether or not, do I want to pay my cell phone bill? Do I want to pay my utility bills? and cannot afford internet service. So with that, we became members and we qualified, and we're a part of the ACP program, which is a low-cost broadband offering that the federal government provided, asked that providers meet. And with that is a $30. If you meet the requirements, the next slide, if you meet the requirements of ACP, being that you receive a Social Security benefit for seniors and you receive a Social Security supplemental benefit, then you qualify. For school-age families with school-age kids, it's those kids that receive a free or reduced lunch. They qualify for that, in essence, to get free broadband at a $30 rate. It's called our Spectrum 100, so it's a 100 megabits per second service. And it's really left up to the citizen, the resident, to apply for that program. So they apply through that. The federal government reaches out to whatever providers is in their service footprint, and they determine whether they qualify or not. And then they contact us. We, of course, connect with the consumer, and we make the connection happen. So as far as investing in North Carolina, we talked about the $20 per rate. I can skip that slide and the affordability. The Charter offerings, you see right here, where we had Spectrum Internet Assist, which is a package we actually started before ACP with the federal government rolled out that plan with the subsidy for those families. We had a Spectrum Internet Assist, which was 30 megabits per second, which was in $19.95, which was a low package, cost package for our customers. So getting down to what you guys really want to hear me talk about is RDOF. Up on your screen there is our RDOF award area. So this is broken down by census blocks. And we don't get to determine what those census blocks are. The federal government determines those census blocks, and we bid on those. You can actually, there is an FCC website that you can go to. And you can go to the FCC website and you can type in Greene County. And of course, it has hybrid level, street level data in it. So when you go to that website, you can physically put an address in, and it'll tell you if that address and who the award winner is. And RDOF, of course, it's going to be Charter Communications. It's not going to say Charter Communications. It's going to say CCO Holdings. And CCO Holdings is just Charter Communications Operating Holdings. And you can put a street address in. It tells you if that address is in that census block. And census blocks run by county roads. We know that. So if you're going down the road and you're looking at it and the census block is blue on the left side of the road, if there's homes on the right side of the road, we're going to serve them. They're going to be out of the census block. The FCC is stating to us that there's 2,720 addresses in our RDOF area. What we're seeing is that number might be higher, it might be lower. When I took a look at it when we first won the award in all my counties, I actually have North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. Because of a lot of them being really rural, determined that I think those numbers are going to be a lot higher. And the reason I say that is because of what we call synergy passings that we're going to pick up that's not in RDOF, that's across the road. So with that 2,720 addresses, I expect that number is going to go up maybe 100, couple hundred. It might be more than that. So where are we at in the phase right now? So what we're building right now is we're building our current infrastructure that we have in place. We have what we call a hybrid fiber coax system. That's where we build a backbone of fiber, and we build to coax what we call nodes, and from the nodes we build the amplifiers. And you're very familiar with coax cable that goes into the houses. It's a real small copper cable going in. With the RDOF and the grants awards that we won, we decided it was smart to go ahead and build everything fiber. So we're building everything fiber to the premise. It'll be fiber going straight into the home. With the number of counties that we're doing, and we're building in 84 counties because we want to start off in 84 counties. We're having to build a new network, and we're having to build a backbone using fiber. So Wilson and Goldsboro is going to be our main hub that we're building a fiber backbone to get to the Outer Banks, for those counties to include Greene County. Greene County is going to be unusual in the aspect that one of our fiber backbones will be coming out of Wilson, going through Martin County, going out to that area. The southern, what I call the southern portion of Greene County, it's closer to Goldsboro. So we're building another hub and fiber backbone coming out of Goldsboro to serve that southern portion of that map. And I'll get back to the map here in a second. Down toward that Jason area, and it will serve there, across the line into Greene County from Hugo. And then, was that Hopkinton? Hookerton. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. But this is going to serve that southern portion. As you can see on the map, that northwestern part of the county is going to be heavily emphasized with RDOF there. And then it's just going to get spotty from around there. The other portions that you see in green in this map is typically the areas that other providers just want awards. And so at some point in some time, hopefully in Greene County, you're going to have universal service. With CAB and B coming around with the new BDC mapping that the FCC is requiring and the state is adopting, with the new mapping, it's going to really be able to show us street level data even after this is done to determine exactly, after everything done is completed, every customer that does not have access. That's where the state is trying to do. The state is using the FCC's new mapping, what we call BDC mapping. And with the new BDC mapping going forward, once we're complete, we'll be able to determine those. We look forward to partnering with the county to extend our service back to get to those homes. So what are the next phase? We're building the backbone now. In 2024, beginning next year, we're going to begin to walk out. So what is the walkout? The walkout is where we actually have our crews coming in and they walk every street and they count every household. They walk it out and they determine every pole that we need to attach to. They determine whether or not if a power provider span is too long, assuming that the power providers, I think we have Pitt Green Electric Co-op and you have Duke Energy, I think, Kyle. So we've never had a problem with Duke Energy. Pitt Green Electric Co-op, I feel pretty confident we're going to be able to work with them to negotiate rates to get on their pole. But when we're through the walkout, they'll determine whether a span is too long, whether we need to go underground at some point, and they map the entire system out. And when it goes to there, when they map it out, it goes to design. Design takes a look at it. They take the walkout and they just design the entire infrastructure on paper. And from there, while that's going on and the mapping goes through and the design, we determine, okay, we need to start talking to power providers because these are the poles that we need to get on. So we begin the permitting process. We start submitting permits and working with the electric providers through the permitting process to determine if we can get on those poles. And through the permitting process, hopefully it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround with the permitting process. And from the permitting process, we go straight into make ready. Make ready is where we work with the electric co-ops and they determine, okay, this pole is a little too short going across the road, so this pole needs to be replaced and you need to pay for this pole. And whether or not we look at the cost of that and determine we need to go underground there or get on the pole, we go through the make ready stage. And they do load studies as well. When that's completed, we go straight into construction. As I stated earlier, what we did here in North Carolina, we typically use contractors. When you think of the amount of broadband that's going on across the state of North Carolina, there's just not enough contractors. So we had to bring contractors in from other states to build just in North Carolina. And I think I shared this with you. North Carolina is one of the largest footprints in the entire United States that Charter operates in, by far. In fact, our corporate office, one of our main corporate offices, is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So with that happening, we hired last year a complete underground team along with our contractors to make sure that we get construction started and we get this fiber in place as quick as possible. And from that phase, we go to activation. And that's where, once construction completed, technically we'll do it a little bit different. We're not going to wait until the entire network is built and start activating customers. As that fiber backbone is being built and we build and we extend plant here in Greene County, we will activate customers as we go by them, if that makes sense, instead of waiting. So we want to get consumers access as quick as possible. So as we're constructing and we light those fiber, and we have light coming in, we'll get fiber and get it activated to each of the consumers. So that's pretty much it. The walkout and design and the permitting is what, it takes a little time to do that, but that's going to begin early in 2024. So we continue looking to have a good working relationship. I've got to know Kyle real well, and there may be a point in time that we may reach out to you for assistance with permitting. With Pitt Greene County Electric Co-op, I know we've worked with them in Pitt County in the past, but sometimes we can run into some barriers, and we always ask the assistance of the county commissioners. We have those in the counties to assist us in those matters. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Get back to you, Mayor, for a minute. Where are we at with this area right here?
Where are we at?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about running the line to the Outer Banks, going through Martin County, so you'll come into part of Greene County.
Right.
And you're talking about coming from Goldsboro, you're going to go through Jason, which is a little bit of a blue area. I want to know what's going on in that big blue area up there to the top on the left.
The fiber transport's being built through there. That's the first thing we got to do is we have to get fiber transport.
Is that coming down 264?
I think
64?
Yes. I think it's coming 264. I have to look. I'm not sure. But it's going up to Martin County. Is that 13?
That'll be 264.
260. Yeah, it will be 264. It is 264. We're going straight down 264 to go there. So we're building that fiber backbone. Goldsboro, we're actually building probably 15 mini hubs to serve this portion of the Greene County.
Is there anything you could do to get that northern part? This is our situation, right? Every year we have applicants, and they apply for the same area. It's that same area y'all moving into, and that top part is always ignored. We want that top part.
Yeah, that'll be
accelerated.
Yeah, because that's the first part of that transport. Which is that transport. The transport, because the hub is coming out of Wilson, that's the area that they will more than likely start.
So will it come down? I understand what you're saying. You're going to come down 264, which is right in here, up here.
Cross.
Is it going to come down Highway 58 into Greene County? That's what we're concerned about.
And I'm not on the construction side. I don't know what the design is going to call for, but I'm pretty confident that that portion where it's being fed, where it's in 258, they're gonna take the main fiber coming in. In other words, to serve that area, it's probably going to take a 258 count fiber to be able to serve nodes coming off. Central located from that point, that makes sense that it would come down that road.
Well, the question I have is when.
Yeah.
The question I have, I'm not going to talk about geography, I just want to know when.
Yeah. Because
as a board, we have collectively been kind of promised things and things haven't happened, and You said you wanted to be, let's say, to quote you, you want to be a leading provider for broadband. We want you to be a leading provider for broadband sooner than later. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly.
We're a very rural county, you know, and we're just like 84 other rural counties. We're no different. We have businesses, and we have our school kids, and we have our farmers, which is a business, big agricultural county, Greene County, and they are without. In that section of this county particularly, and throughout our entire county, there are little pockets, but our northeast, Bullhead section, back up that way towards Wilson, Highway 58, they are without. And we really would like to see some activity to get them into today's technology world, and like to see you become that leading provider for broadband in our county.
And I can assure you we will. We actually speeded up the process. The federal government allowed for 7 years for the RDOF to be built out from the day from the acceptance of the award. We're not waiting 7 years. That's what the federal government gave us. The CEO made a press release, a media release. No, we're not going to wait 7 years. We're going to get it built as fast as possible. As fast as our construction teams who work and get the permitting, we're going to work it. We have the luxury of being in North Carolina, being one of the largest footprints. So a lot of the construction activity that we're seeing is happening in North Carolina. So I understand. I get it in North Carolina, I get it in Virginia, and I get it in Maryland.
You go to every county you go to,
I do.
Same thing.
Exactly
I
right.
understand.
But
we're special.
you're fortunate from the standpoint that you're close to Wilson, and that the transport has to be built first. Without the transport, you have no light, and you have to have light to be able to provide service. So once that transport, we'll begin building. And what I'll do, I'll make a commitment to you, and when we get started, I'll come on a regular basis, and I will provide you updates. I'm doing it everywhere else, and I'll do it here too.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, if I have to come each quarter, we'll come each quarter. Colin, I'll decide when it's time for an update. We'll get on the agenda. We'll provide some updates. I'll answer questions and let you know. Actually, what I'm hoping that happen, because our construction team, they're focused on building the network. Government affairs, we don't always get all the information, but what we have requested is asking, listen, if you can provide us updates, because counties are asking us, and we're doing presentations to counties. If they can provide us an update on the construction activity, then I can come and show you exactly where we're building, where we're activating.
Thank you.
That way your residents will know.
So you're looking for like 2,720 different residences, give or take a few more?
Yes, that's
because they
correct.
may be across the road
That's
or whatever
correct.
sort of thing.
And if you think about that, and I don't want to, belabor my presentation here, but I want to answer your questions, is that when you look at that footprint, 2,720 addresses in all that blue, that's a lot of fiber just for 2,720 addresses.
I understand that.
Which means that we're going to be building hundreds of miles of fiber here in Greene County just for 2007. Now, I don't mean just for 2007. My whole point is that tells us just how rural it is and how bad your citizens need access to broadband.
A statistic that we have that I was told a number of years ago was just 512 miles of water lines in Greene County.
Yeah.
So that kind of would relate to the need for fiber, so yes, there are several hundred miles of fiber in Greene County to provide the service.
And, so I have a mother-in-law that's 92. Telemedicine is needed as much now than ever before. Because who knows when the next pandemic or who knows what's going to happen again. And taking care of citizens, not only that, our kids in schools. But I'm here with you, answer questions coming up, and I'll be glad to be back with you.
Now your completion, are you going to be doing it in spots? Because we're having that problem now. They'll do it in spots, then they'll stop this area, and they'll go somewhere else. And And that kind of frustrates people too. You come up to my next house and then you cut me off, and how y'all gonna?
Once we get started, once we started the construction, we're probably going to be all over. But I would imagine a lot of the main focus is up there in that northeast corridor.
So you're gonna install
Northwest.
as you go, smooth as
Yes,
you go?
we'll activate it as we build it. That's correct. That is correct.
One question.
Mhm.
Do these companies, they share fiber? Cause you're gonna run a line, and another company's gonna run a line. How do, explain that. I mean,
Yeah, one thing providers, especially in charters, there are some locations where we have to lease fiber from someone else, such as like the Eastern Shore in Virginia. To get from Virginia Beach over to the Eastern Shore, we lease fiber, but it just doesn't make sense for us to put a fiber across that bridge.
Right, okay.
But we typically like to own our own fiber. If we own our own fiber, we can control it.
Right.
And that's one reason. Because you give a good example on the Dare County. We lease some fiber from someone else. If it gets cut, we're dependent upon them when they come to repair. It's not. I'm not saying that it takes a long time, but
Right.
you're dependent upon. And in the rural counties, I always say it's a joke. Everyone that has a backhoe, and they cut it. They will cut it. So.
As soon as you can get it to our county, we would appreciate it. It's just a simple statement. We do have needs. I know the other 4 rural counties have needs. I know the other 40 states have needs. But we sincerely would appreciate your best effort to get it to our citizens as soon as possible.
Locally, I'm not worried about the other 37 and 6. I'm worried about my states.
We are worried about our county.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any
Thank
other
you very much.
questions?
Any other questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I look forward to being back with you soon.
Yes, sir. Mr. McEwen.
Get it on right to Tony. Give me a second to get your presentation. Thank you, Kyle. How are you, sir?
It's good to see you again.
Gas companies are checking their loans.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Tony McEwen. I'm the Carolinas Director for the American Flood Coalition. I very much appreciate y'all's generosity of your time, allowing me to come before you, and I won't take up too much of your time. I know it's valuable. I've got a number of slides here, but I'm going to whiz through them pretty quickly. First off, just a little bit about the American Flood Coalition. We are a national nonprofit dedicated to flood resilience, and as you very much know, flood resilience is the concept about investing in positive policy as well as appropriate resources on the front end of disasters to save taxpayer resources on the back end, and most importantly, to improve public safeties in communities like you find here in Greene County. Let me also preface this presentation because I come from the municipal government world. I worked for the city of Wilmington for a number of years and was their advocate at both the state legislative level as well as the congressional level. I know that a lot of times different organizations will come before elected bodies and have a pitch for you, and it's ultimately some type of sales pitch. There's not many things free in this world, but this is something completely free. I'm not asking y'all for a single thing. We don't do any projects. We're not looking to get a piece of any federal funding or state funding or anything. We're very purely a no cost to you advocate for local governments at both the state and federal level on flood policy. So I just want to make sure the only thing that I'll ask of you, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment, is to help lend your very important voice to this statewide conversation on flood resilience. That's the only thing that I'll be asking of you. So again, I'll talk a little bit about our vision, who we are, give you a very, very brief state and federal update, and talk about some of the resources that we have to share with you, whether you are a member or not. And again, just about being a member, That would be something that y'all would need to pass via resolution. Just say that you're a member of the American Flood Coalition. You'll recognize, I'll show you a picture of some of our members. You'll recognize a lot of your friends and neighbors in the municipal world. Here's our organization. This is our team. Most of our folks are based out of Washington, D.C. We do have folks based in Atlanta. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and cover North and South Carolina for the organization. Our focus states are Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and South Carolina. We do some work in Iowa and Virginia, but our biggest interest in making sure we get state policy right, not be so spread out to where we can't get state policy right, but focus on some core states and try to implement the best state policy we can, and then export that elsewhere around the nation. Here's our 4 pillars for how that guides our work. We focus on the economy, communities, rebuilding, and our nation's military national defense. So this is the type of organizations that are members of ours. We have federal champions due to congressional ethics rules. Members of Congress have to join as part of a federal champion designation. Cities, towns, and counties, elected officials. So we have a number of mayors and state legislators, military groups, civic groups like Chambers of Commerce are members of our organization as well. So here's just some of our recognizable members in North Carolina. We have communities as large as Wilmington. We have communities as small as the town of Fair Bluff in Columbus County. If you're familiar with Fair Bluff, they're on a whole nother level as far as the impacts of flooding to their community. That's a community that's been written about in the Washington Post, New York Times. They have almost been wiped off the face of the earth from flooding. And they have a very kind of our bread and butter, the communities we like to work with are communities that oftentimes struggle with internal capacity. I'm not a technical expert on flooding. I deal more in the political realm of these issues. And very few communities in North Carolina will you find that they have experts on flooding within their staffing. So we try to dig in and be helpful to those communities with technical assistance, helping them access federal and state funding. We also, as you'll see, have a number of notable legislators going all the way up to the Speaker of the House. Representative Chris Humphrey, who I believe is a representative of Greene County, is a very, very active member, and we're blessed to have him as a member of our organization. And then we've got mayors from as far west as Canton, North Carolina, there in Haywood County, and as far east is Boiling Spring Lakes and Outer Banks, different communities in Outer Banks as well. So here's, at this point, an outdated list of our members. We've got about 100 members ranging from, again, large and small communities, counties. Some of the counties you may be familiar with in our area that are members are Pender County, Jones County, New Hanover County, but again, we go all the way out to communities like Transylvania County and Haywood County that we work with. Here's some of our federal champions. These are folks that work very closely with us on a year-round basis. Senator Tom Tillis is one of our federal champions, Senator Tim Scott, Senator Mark Warner, Marco Rubio. So it's a bipartisan organization we work with. We have members of Congress, members of the House that are members. Congressman Don Davis is one of our newest ones. Also Congressman Greg Murphy, Congressman Rouser, Congresswoman Virginia Fox. So some folks you'll recognize here in North Carolina. So here's our framework that guides our work. Again, I'm just going to kind of zip through some of this stuff and not get too in depth. So in North Carolina, some of our biggest focus kind of at the macro level, our long-term interest is a flood resilience blueprint, which y'all may be familiar with. And if you're not, I'd be happy to speak with any of y'all offline about this. This is the biggest, most important effort that's happening in North Carolina related to flood concerns. And what it does at a basin-wide level is map the state's circulatory system, and it helps take, as the state legislature has attempted to do in recent years with transportation funding, is take the politics out of this funding. Because again, we have to remember that flooding is the costliest natural hazard that we face, certainly in North Carolina, but nationwide. And so it tries to take the politics out of funding for flood resilience and take really a scientific approach to it, and also understanding that if you get some big appropriation from the state legislature for a flood resilience project in Greene County, that may be great for y'all, but it may have an equal and opposite negative impact to a neighboring community in the basin. So you really have to look through a basin-wide filter with how we make investments going forward in North Carolina. So that's a big part of our mission. But we also understand that while we're looking at longer-term efforts, like the flood resilience blueprint, that y'all have more immediate needs. So in the legislature, this session that just wrapped up, we got $30+ million for transportation flood resilience. And that's because, flooding looks very different whether you're in the mountains or whether you're at the coast or all the points in between. But the tie that binds these communities together is the impact of flooding on roadways. And so what we've tried to do in a very non-prescriptive manner is make sure that, again, as we're working on these longer term issues, that you have resources in a more immediate manner that you can tap into. And so we got $15 million in 2021 and we got $30 million this year. And so that's something that towns, that counties, that COGS can go after, NPOs can go after as well. We also try to take some of this out of the hands of local governments, not in a manner that's disrespectful to y'all's authority, but in understanding that flood impacts, flood risks do not respect political jurisdictional boundaries. So if you've got an issue here in Snow Hill, it's not just unique to Snow Hill. So oftentimes if COGS can come in and get money, if county can come and get money and spread that out across multiple municipalities to solve issues, that's what we like to work on. Stream rehabilitation funding, we've been responsible for over $100 million that has gone through the legislature in the last 4 years as well. So we're very actively trying to get, again, this is our key ask, is making sure that y'all as influential local leaders lend your voice to this. We try to very regularly on our dime bring local elected officials to both the congressional level as well as to Raleigh to work on these issues with state legislators. You may recognize some of these folks. We got a vice chairman in Robeson County, chairwoman in Pender County, and a number of other elected officials as well. I'm going to just zip through this real quick. Here's an example of the 2021 funds we got with the transportation flood resilience, and here's the different communities that accessed it, at what level and for what purpose. Again, these dollars are going to come online, so I would encourage you and your staff, if this is something you're interested in doing, very likely, as you see, this is something that's going to range from, $250,000 to maybe $3 or $4 million per project that y'all can go after. I don't think that any of the communities in Greene County got it in the 2021 cycle, but these dollars are going to be announced later this month. They're going to come online in mid-December, and that application period is going to close by early February. So if this is something you're interested in, I'd recommend that y'all start getting a project queued up. So here's some examples of what those resources have been used for. This is an issue out in Wilkes County, in Wilkesboro in particular, where they had an issue with a culvert that was just not up to snuff for the level of risk they had in these communities. And so with the help of these dollars, they were able to rebuild back that bridge that had been washed out at a level that kind of building resilience going forward with a much better culvert than they would have gotten with their own resources. Just federal update, I'll just tell you that we were very active at the federal level across all major funding bills. We try to inject flood resilience policy. So for instance, we're working with lead folks from the Agricultural Committee for the next farm bill to make sure that there's flood resilience policy contained within the farm bill, as well as resources as well for our agricultural communities. And I'll just, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'd be happy to go further with any of y'all, but what we want to make sure that I want to make sure I communicate to y'all is that, again, whether y'all are members or not, that's helpful to our advocacy efforts on your behalf. I'd like to think if y'all become a member of the organization, that's up to y'all. Regardless, we're here to be helpful to y'all. We have some of the brightest minds in the nation that you will find on this issue. As an example, in the last year, we hired a gentleman who was the Deputy State Hazard Mitigation Director for the state of Georgia. We pulled him over to our organization. I bring him into North Carolina and South Carolina when I travel around and meet with local leaders such as yourselves. And so if you have an issue in your community with nuisance flooding, I can bring him to the table and he can look at that and maybe give you some ideas of how you could attack the issue. And as well, not only that, but where you can go after the dollars to help your citizens attack that issue as well, and help you kind of talk through the grant process and prepare you for how best to access those resources. If you need communications help, we have that. We oftentimes fund small projects. We're doing one in Kinston right now, more in the tens of thousands of dollar level. And so that's something that we could offer going forward as well. But again, just And then here's something for your staff as well. We created something called the Flood Funding Finder. It really kind of puts in layman's terms the different federal funding opportunities that you'll find. So very simple search terms. I used to have to navigate federal funding streams when I worked for a member of Congress, and I did it professionally, and I could not tell you how to navigate that process. It's a dang mess. But we've created this website, again, completely free, whether you're a member or not. This is something that we've done. A big part of what we do at the federal level is trying to kind of untangle the federal hairball around this issue, the bureaucratic hairball around this issue. So that's a tool for your staff as well if y'all want to take a look at it. But I'll wrap it up at that point. Happy to take any questions. And again, if you don't have any, I just want to say thank you.
Can you go back to Wilkes County?
Yes.
The bridge. Oh. All right. I see where the culverts couldn't handle the water, and you come back and took them out and made bigger ones in. But go back. You see how you got a dam? You're in a flood zone where those cars are right there. Have they ever thought about putting more culverts up under this so the water can flow and get on out? Because you're going to a pinch point.
Up under this particular
Right
roadway.
up under that road.
So unfortunately,
Y'all work with the highway department, transportation department, to let them understand that they need more of these. Or either just make a bridge right on across the swamp so the water can flow and get on that.
so what you're not seeing in this picture is that there is a very substantial culvert under there now.
Mm-hmm.
So the recovery dollars that they were going to get from the federal government was just going to put it basically back to there, and you were going to have this issue again at some point. Again, bear with me, Commissioner. I'm not the most technically savvy on some of this stuff, but it was going to repair it just back to what it was. But now they have, and again, I need to appreciate the presentation recommendation. I need a better picture where it shows the actual culvert. It is an extremely large culvert. I was out there walking that bridge with a state legislator who represents that area, showcasing that project to some local media, and it's a very substantial culvert underneath there. Does that get to your question?
A little bit.
Okay.
But, the water's got a lot of force to it. And, when it comes, it's all going to float to one spot. We've got two spots right here in Snow Hill.
Yeah.
Same situation. You've got a dam across there, and all that water is trying to get up under two bridges to get on out and move and go on toward down east. So.
Yes, sir. And by the way, just as an aside, further information on that particular funding stream, that's going to be administered through State Emergency Management. So I think $32 million is what it will be. Last time when it was $15 million, that funded 19 projects. Give you a taste of how maybe competitive it will be. Hopefully we can squeeze maybe 50 projects out of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We appreciate your presentation, Mr. McEwen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Next presenter, Mr. Rich Moore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you get your nap, Rick?
I got my nap.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get some of that brick money. But I've got two things. The first one we got is that the Division of Water Infrastructure, who has had money where they've applied towards water and sanitary sewer infrastructure, they have targeted October of 2024 for every community water system to identify and inventory all lead service lines and galvanized iron pipe service lines. And that is not only from the water system provider, but also the private plumbing from the homeowners. And certainly this is kind of started from the issues that occurred in Flint, Michigan a couple of years ago, where they transitioned water supply sources, and they had actual water lines that were lead water lines, and view it as a concern. Certainly, we test routinely for lead and copper, so we know we don't have any issues in terms of a health hazard, but in order to comply with what the state wants, we've got to demonstrate that we have put together an effort to inventory any lead or galvanized iron water lines in our system and private plumbing. The state right now is kind of going around to everybody saying, this is what we're trying to do on a statewide basis, and we've got lots of money, and kind of question what that money is in terms of loan and grant. But in order to see, we're trying to position Greene County to apply for grant money to assist with the inventory process. In reading the guidelines that they published, and they're kind of changing constantly, they do have funds available for inventory and for replacement activities, but replacement has to be based on actual inventory. And there's some pitfalls with that regarding the permission to access private property, and then even beyond that, the impact on the homeowner who may want to or may have some lead lines, in their house that is not part of the inventory process. So, interesting process. What we want to do, or got for your consideration, is just to apply for grant funding to participate in the inventory process. The applications are due the end of this month, early December, and we apply, we'll know what opportunities exist with regards to loan and grant. Hopefully, the county's designation as a distressed community will assist in kind of leaning towards more grant obligation, because loan's kind of a four-letter word. To position the county to apply, the state requires an authorizing resolution to be adopted. Adopting that resolution just positions you to apply. It does not require you to accept or to move forward if any offer is not favorable with regard to financing. But we know down the line there will be additional funds that will be available to address replacement of lead and galvanized lines if we can find any. And the only way we can position ourselves is to see what we've got. Don't think we've got any, but there may be some spots where they may exist in some areas. So just trying to position the county to move forward. So what we've got for your consideration is authorizing resolution to allow the county to apply for these lead service line replacement program through the Division of Water Infrastructure. So glad to.
Any questions?
I know the town, Clifford and Studio applied for the same grant and said that towns, they would be able to get up to $1 million for each town. How much is the county get?
Yeah, and you can apply for up to $1 million in terms of inventory. You can apply up to $5 million for replacement, but you've got to have that inventory in process. It's got to be a done deal. So
$1 million for the inventory.
That's the most you can get through the inventory. And the smaller towns are going to be more likely to have the galvanized and the cast iron because their systems are older in terms of when they first built them. They're going to be the ones that are probably going to be more impacted than the county. The county system was built in the 70s, and the initial installation was all PVC. So really don't think the county's going to have as much of an impact as the small towns.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve this resolution.
A motion to approve the resolution that's in our packet. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye. 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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
And our next item that we've got is Ormansville Water Corporation. And they've got a small system. They've got about 120 water customers. They purchase all of their water from Greene County, and they just got distribution piping and meters where they read their own meters. They have gotten to the point where they are ready to transition those assets to somebody else to take care of them. And certainly we know this is going to occur over time for all these small systems. The county has taken over Lizzie and Arba under similar circumstance, and Ormansville has met. They have approved a resolution to request that the county assume ownership and operation of their assets, and there are certainly some additional steps that have to be moved, to move forward for further consideration, not only in terms of the county agreeing to it, but we certainly got to make sure that we're not going to assume ownership of any assets that we don't need to have ownership of. Don't think that exists for Ormansville. And then to also, we've got to transition their services over to, the county's system, and, the cost impact and how we can, make sure that, that we defray that cost. In the past, we've always had the, Lizzie and Arba, even through a surcharge process or from the cash that they had on hand, paid for those assets. So we just want to be fair and make sure that we're consistent as we move forward if the county agrees to accept Ormansville's request. And I certainly think it is a positive, and certainly is needed. And it's certainly not, it's not going to be the last one that's going to come before you to request it. So what we are providing for you is a copy of where Ormansville has made the request, and we're asking for the board to accept Ormansville Water Corporation and to allow your staff to go through the process of formally transitioning their assets into the county.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the Ormansville Water Corporation into the Greene County Regional Water System.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you, Rich.
We'll bring some more stuff back for you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. County Manager.
Thanks. Okay. I've got 3 short items for action this morning, sir. My first being an appointment to the jury commission. The clerk's office has asked that the Board of Commissioners appoint a member. The member requested was Ms. Gloria Artis. This is a biannual appointment. Are there questions?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Next item for consideration is a budget amendment for public buildings. If you recall, in our March meeting, it was approved to have the Justice Center's HVAC system, a large portion of it, overhauled, while costs were at a level that is less than they are today. That equipment was ordered. It has arrived. They have begun the work as a capital expense. It was not budgeted in the operations budget, which we do annually, but it is a capital project, so I'm asking if these funds be appropriated out of our reserve for expense to pay for this project. Are there any questions?
How long is it going to take them to do it?
I believe they've already begun.
Okay.
I expect completion before turn of calendar, or January 1st.
They
I
got
saw
a
one
gas line.
huge generator outside the things. I knew it was coming.
They couldn't run anything getting gas lines, wasn't
Yes, Piedmont can be difficult to work with, but they were responsive, and they have a nice line ran that will provide for gas heat, a more efficient heat. So,
Move to approve the budget amendment to pay for HVAC
Have a
for the
motion.
Justice Center.
Have a motion and have a second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
it?
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Last item for action this morning is another budget amendment for the Health Services Building's roof. Our last two heavy rain events have caused adverse effects to the departments in the Health Services Building. If you recall, we had a roof in the CIP for the Health Services Building in 24-25. Just kind of moving it ahead a bit. We were able to take our quote from Coastal Roofing, and they charged us the same price. We were able to piggyback their initial quote and bid. It is a significantly larger roof. I think they told me it would take 3 weeks, 1 week of which would be just getting the rocks off of the Health Services roof, which we will reuse in our Public Works Department, water. Kind of rambled a bit. Is there any questions, anything I haven't covered for you?
What's the wish of the board?
Move to approve the award the piggyback bid to Coastal Building Solutions to replace the Health Services roof.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion is carried.
Thank you. I do have one announcement written down. I did want to announce that we are coordinating a joint meeting with our local municipalities. Michael from Lenore County and I will do this via Zoom after our December 4th meeting. We'll transition from our meeting room here to probably the conference room, publicly invited. And we'll have our municipal guests, if they choose to attend, to get input on how we're spending our opioid monies. This is a requirement to maintain compliance with those federal dollars from those lawsuits. You'll be seeing more communication from me and to them about this. Just want to prepare you for that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam County Attorney, do you have comments at this time?
No comments.
Okay. I would like to announce that Ms. Sharon Harrison came in and we're having a shred-a-thon event at our Senior Citizens Center. It's going to be day after tomorrow, the 8th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a shred-a-thon where you can shred your old tax records, employment records, bank statements, whatever. And that will be at our Senior Citizens Center at 104 Green Ridge Road, Wednesday, the 8th of November from 10 until 1. I'd like to also announce that Poster 94, American Legion Post 94 is having a pancake supper this coming Saturday night, Saturday afternoon. And also don't forget about Veterans Day. Our veterans are very important to all of us. They have provided for our freedoms. And they're having this Veterans Day event will be Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Snow Hill Fire Department. We'd like to compliment Fort Run Fire Department on their barbecue chicken fundraiser this past Saturday. It was a good event, and thank you for all you do there. Any other commissioner comments or recommendations?
Commissioner Daniels sent me an email last night, said they're having a grand opening downtown after Lake Snow Hill. It's a gift shop or something downtown.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock. I don't remember the name.
Have we got the Taste of Green?
Tasty Greens Thursday night. 5. What time is that, Trey?
I think it starts. I think it goes up at 5. I'll talk to
Yeah.
I'll be in the COG meeting in Newbern.
Okay.
All right. Here are no other recommendations. Do I have a motion that we go into closed session for attorney-client privilege, economic development, and personnel?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of going into closed session signify so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. We're going into The motion is carried. We're back in regular session.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. We are adjourned.